Recording in progress.
Hello, how are you today? Today, I want to talk about a topic that is interesting, needed, difficult, and that's relationships, but a side of relationships that we don't like to talk about. That's how we grow in relationships. And yet sometimes people don't grow along with us. I'm the kind of person where when we're friends, I kind of feel like we're friends for life, right? And then um, through life and circumstances, um, I've learned that everybody doesn't feel that way. And I used to kind of feel like that was a one-way thing. Like I was friends with everybody and I treated everybody like my friend, but everybody didn't always give me that same courtesy. As I've gotten older, I've realized that's probably not the truth. Um, there are probably people who look at me and how I've treated them, and I have not really been that fair or treated them that great. Um, and I was talking to a friend of mine about this a few years ago. I had somebody who I thought we were good friends, and I thought kind of helped them out a little bit in life, and that we were doing some work together, and they sent me this email, just blasted me. I mean, really blasted me. I was super confused about it. I even sent them an email or two trying to clear things up. I apologized for any confusion that I'd created or had on my part. They just kept stuck to their guns and made it like I was the whole problem. I was not in any way, shape, or form. And I was really offended by it. And I was processing it and talking about it with my friend. And I said, I thought that if nothing else, that my friendship with this person would have helped kind of smooth this over. And they said, David, and I haven't forgotten this since. It was just 2 or 3 years ago, but they said friendships are seasonal. I was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that friendships are seasonal. And since then, I've thought about it a lot. And one, I agree with it. The friendships are seasonal. Sometimes just because of where we are in life, who we're hanging out with, the circumstances around those friendships, that they are kind of seasonal. We drift apart, we drift away. It's just how life works. Um, if we get back together, we can pick things up. That's fine. But I feel like more than just friendships are seasonal. I feel like relationships are seasonal. Um, I don't just mean like an intimate relationship, although that certainly can apply. It does apply. But um, partnerships, business relationships, any type of relationship you can think of, I feel like if we're honest and we think about it, they're seasonal and maybe really long seasons, but and some seasons last longer than others. My favorite quote is by Jewel, the artist, the singer. She has a line in one of her songs that says, "Everything's temporary if you give it enough time." I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. There's a Buddhist principle called impermanence. It's that very idea that everything changes. You just have to give it enough time and it'll change in some way. Kind of a sad thought if you look at it that way. But trying to put the best positive spin on it, I think what happens is just we grow different ways. And sometimes that is sad. Um, that people, business relationships, whatever, we grow differently, which ends up being a part. Sometimes one person stays the same and the other person grows or just goes differently. Sometimes they go in opposite directions. Sometimes they're just headed different ways. Sometimes there's disagreements, there's arguments, there's whatever. Sometimes it is mutually agreed upon that it's okay. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes people get angry about things in that process of growth. Sometimes it's like, well, that's all right. You know, this is good for you. This, maybe it's a business relationship, maybe it's a personal relationship, friendship, whatever. Sometimes they're like, well, you know, what you're doing is cool. What I'm doing is cool. Maybe, you know, friends move across the state or something. Maybe you have neighbors that are good friends and somebody moves or whatever. And just because they aren't near each other, they just kind of lose track. And that's fine. When it's harder is when it's like a belief system or something. You know, we've had very tumultuous 10 or 20 years in politics, and that has caused a lot of hard feelings among people who used to be good friends. People have a hard time disagreeing without being disagreeable. I think that's a sad thing. I have a lot of friends that I disagree with on things that I'm still friends with. Then there are some things that people just can't coexist with in different ways. Maybe they can be friends, but like they just can't be as close as they used to. They need to kind of have some space. I think some of that's okay. Some of that has to do with boundaries. You have to protect your own mental health, your own physical welfare at times, your own mental welfare and health. The most important thing in all of this, I think, is that you're honest with yourself and that you do not prohibit your own growth in order to satisfy somebody else. I've done it before. It's not healthy. It's not good. So the most important thing is that you continue to grow as a person. You search yourself. You be honest with yourself about what your views are, what your growth is, what you are looking for what your mental health needs to be, and that you grow. And if there's anybody who's trying to stop you from growing, you don't accept that. I think it's good to talk with them about it. Maybe they don't understand where you're coming from and you can help explain that. But if they just don't accept it, they don't appreciate it, they don't want you to grow. Sometimes people are afraid of your views or your beliefs, especially if your views or beliefs are different from theirs. If they just don't accept them, there's only so much you can do. If they don't accept who you are, there's only so much you can do. You can't adapt yourself to someone else's insecurities. I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago. We were having a fun conversation. And I said, well, I don't know if you do this thing. I said, I don't know how I feel about that. It makes me kind of feel um, like you would be rejecting me. And they said, I can't help your insecurities. And I said, well, that's fair. That's a fair statement. And I loved that openness and that type of conversation. The key point I'm wanting to make is your growth as a human, your growth as a person, your growth as an individual has to take precedent to everything else. Relationships are critical. And we want to hold on to our relationships, our friendships. I think sometimes we fear that we lose our relationships, that we won't find new ones. But what I've learned in my life is you tend to find your people. You tend to find the people that you are meant to be with and people who accept you for who you are. Because you are a wonderful person and you will find the people who love and care about you exactly like you are. Does it mean you're perfect? No, I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Sometimes we need those discussions to correct us. Sometimes people can point out flaws in our thinking, and that's good. But we always want to be growing. So continue to grow. Spread your wings and fly. Don't let anyone hold you back from growing and getting better. So let's reflect on that a little bit. Close your eyes. If you don't like to close your eyes, remember these are always just suggestions. If you don't want to close your eyes, you can, it's good to just look down and keep your eyes open. Just look down. Or you can close your eyes. If you're in your chair, you can stay seated, back straight, feet grounded on the floor, hands rested on your lap. Let's take a deep breath. Inhale. exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Let's just sit here in a moment of quiet peace for a minute or two. Take a moment and look inside and ask yourself, in what ways are you growing as a person? How are you growing? And how is your growth impacting your relationships? Is it enhancing them? Is it causing friction? Is it doing a little bit of both? How is your growth impacting your relationships? If there are any areas where there is conflict, are you reaching out, trying to resolve that conflict and communicate with those people, or are you just letting the conflict build? In what ways could you try to resolve that conflict? Having compassion for others who may be struggling with your growth, but at the same time, having compassion for yourself and your own growth. Are there any boundaries that you need to set up to protect your own growth? What are your emotions around the idea that everybody doesn't grow at the same time and in the same way? And relationships, unfortunately, are sometimes seasonal, and we can't always bring everyone with us. Sometimes we have to let others grow at their own pace and in their own time. What are the feelings that that causes you to have thinking about that? Just take a moment to feel some compassion for yourself and for others who may be struggling with your growth. Let's inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. I appreciate you joining me today. This is one of those topics that it's not always like a feel good, happy sunshine topic, but it is necessary. One of the things about mindfulness is that we face our issues, we face our emotions, we face our feelings, we don't run from them. And relationships can be messy, but it's important that we think about them and we talk about them and we deal with them. So I hope this was helpful for you and thoughtful. Let me know if this is helpful, and we will see you next week. And thank you for joining me. Have a great day and a great week.